Hi everyone.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Lucia.
And I'm Mark. And of course you know where we come from.
Who are we?
MS Team!
Who are we?
MS Team!
Who are we?
MS Team!
First, we want to give the congratulations to the individual rewarded as the Rising Star of the Month and the club winning the Rise of Phoenix. Bravo to you all!
Today, three of us will let everyone get to know about the incredible 13 things mentally strong people don't do. And we will start with the chapter 8. They don't make the same mistake over and over.
Chapter 9, they don't resent other people to succeed.
And chapter 10, they don't give up after the first failure. And now,
let's start! The author Amy Morin gave an example about one of her patients, Christy. Christy is a successful person, but she feels frustrated when her kids don't listen to her. She made a promise every morning that not to yell at her kids anymore, but she found herself raising her voice toward one of them in the evening. She discovered that she can't discipline them without yelling, and that's why she makes the same mistake again and again. It took some practice to her to find her parenting strategy. Each time she found her sleeping, she could review her trigger and identify her strategy not to raise her voice again.
well, it's human being. Everyone make mistake. And sometimes they even repeat the mistake, right? Even when they said that in the future, they don't make that mistake again. But by accident or when they're not careful, the mistake happen without their awareness.
We have short out some cool repeated offenders.
You often find yourself stuck at the same point when you're trying to reach a goal. When you encounter an obstacle, you don't invest much time looking for new ways to overcome it. You find it hard to give up your bad habits because you keep falling back on your old ways. You don't invest much time in analyzing why your attempts to reach your goals are unsuccessful. You get mad at yourself because you can't get rid of some of your habits.
You sometimes say things like, I'll never do that again, only to find yourself doing the same things all over again. Sometimes it just feels like it takes too much effort to learn new ways to do things. You often feel frustrated by your lack of self-discipline. Your motivation to do things differently disappears as soon as you begin to feel uncomfortable or upset. Lisa, have any of those points looks familiar to you?
Yes, there are some. However, we can learn from the first time we make the mistake. But there are steps we can take to avoid repeating the unhealthy mistake. Have you ever thought that why we make the same mistake more than one time? About the story, Christy never truly thought about why she yelled her children or what option could be more effective. Because she's afraid that if she changed her discipline plan, her children could be react anger and behave disrespectful to her. And that's why she had to gain the confidence about her parenting ability before she could stop repeating the same mistake. In overall, it's about behavior is being complicated.
Despite that, we have many studies show that we can learn from the mistake, but it's difficult to completely unlearn what we have been taught when we were younger. Growing up, we have been learned it's better to hide your mistake rather than face the consequences. When we deny our mistake, it's less likely that we look into the mistake and we gain any true understanding them in the future. It's all about the acknowledgement of the behavior, but it falls to the shortest of admitting the mistake, or that because of the pride.
Stubborn is a big factor for repeat offenders too. A person who makes a poor investment may say, "Well, I got so much invested in this now, I might as well just keep going." Rather than just losing a little money, he'd rather risk more because he's stubborn to stop. Impulsivity is another reason people repeat mistakes. It is wiser to figure out why you fell up in the first place before you try again. Getting too comfortable. People lack the confidence to look for a better prospect elsewhere. Being uncomfortable with success. They are sabotaging their own efforts by resorting to their own self-destructive behavior and repeat the same mistake.
Christy recognized that yelling at her kids every day wasn't helpful. She wasn't teaching them how to solve this problem effectively, and they were learning that yelling was unacceptable behavior. The more she yells at them, the more they yell right back at her. Repeating the same mistake leads to so many problems, such as
You will stay stuck at the same point and won't be able to move forward. The problem won't get solved. It's a vicious cycle. You will never be able to solve a problem until you do something differently. You will think differently about yourself. You may begin to view yourself as incompetent or a complete failure because you can't get past a certain obstacle. You may not try as hard. When you don't try as hard, you are less likely to succeed. You may frustrate others who watch you repeat the same mistake. If you're guilty of always getting yourself caught up in similar problems, your friends and family may grow tired of hearing your complaint. You may develop irrational beliefs to excuse your mistakes. Instead of looking at how your behavior is interfering with your progress, you may conclude it's just not meant to be.
So, how can we avoid that? To break the yelling cycle Christine has stuck in, she first had to examine her discipline plan and then come up with alternative consequences. And she knew that at the beginning, her kid would like to test her rejection she imposed. It wasn't until she found a solid plan to deal with her emotion that she could effectively manage their misbehavior without losing her cool.
That's correct. And at first, we have to learn the mistake. Everybody make mistake, right? So we have to make that mistake as a lesson. For example, when we first get into the retail, and the first month was a mess in driving the number of the retail, right?
Yeah, right.
In the first month, my team just informed the little members about the promotion, but they don't care. After realizing it was the mistake, we changed the strategy. We present bags and clothes directly to members, and as a result, we increase the revenue.
what's the tip you can see here, Ma?
Well, I asked myself three questions. What went wrong? What could I have done better? And what can I do differently next time? Give yourself a little bit of time to reflect on your mistake. Give yourself an honest evaluation and think about what you can do differently next time to avoid the same mistake in the future. Identify the clear strategy you can do to avoid resorting your old behavior.
Yes, that's good advice, Mark. Secondly, we have to create a plan. First, establish behavior that will replace previous behavior. Decide what healthy behavior will help you avoid repeating unhealthy behavior. Second, identify warning signs that you are headed down the wrong path again. It's important to be on the lookout for old behavior patterns that may return. Third, find a way to hold yourself accountable. It can be more difficult to hide your mistakes or ignore them when you are being held accountable.
Practice self-discipline. First, practice tolerating discomfort. Whether you're feeling lonely and you attempt to take message that asks who isn't good for you, or you are craving a sweet treat that will blow your diet, practice tolerating the discomfort. Second one, use positive self-talk. Realistic affirmation can help you resist temptation in moments of weakness. Saying things like, I can do this, or I'm doing a great job, working toward my goals can help you stay on track. Third, keep your goals in mind. Focusing on importance of your goal help decrease temptation. So if you focus on how good you'll feel when your car is paid off, you'll be less tempted to make that purchase. That will wreak havoc on the month's budget. Fourth, impose restriction on yourself. If you know you are likely to spend too much money when you are out with friends, only take a small amount of cash with you. Take steps that make it difficult, if not impossible, for you to give in when you are faced with temptation. Fifth, create a list of all the reasons why you don't want to repeat your mistake. Carry this list with you when you attempt to resort to your previous behavior pattern. Read this list to yourself. It can increase your motivation to resist repeating old patterns. You'll be able to devote time and energy into making sure you don't repeat them. In fact, mentally strong people are often willing to share their mistakes with other people in an effort to help them prevent from making the same mistake.
What's helpful? Acknowledging your personal responsibility for each mistake. Creating a written plan to prevent repeating the mistake. Identifying triggers and warning signs of our behavior patterns. Practicing self-discipline strategies.
What's not helpful? Making excuses or refusing to accept your role in the outcome. Responding impulsively without thinking your alternatives. Putting yourself in situations where you are likely to fail. Assuming you can always resist temptation or deciding your doom to keep repeating your mistakes.
The author shares a story about Dan who is usually compete with his neighbor about their wealthy, and it's the reason why he had to work so hard to pay the bill to have the competitive life with their neighbor. Dan decided to come to the therapy, and initially he says that he wasn't sure how therapy could help, and then he realized that his value time with his family is more than his possession. Slowly, Dan changed his way to talk about his behavior. He's focused more on his own goal and his own value rather than keeping up with his neighbor.
While jealousy can be described as I want what you are having, resentment of the other's success go furthermore than that. I want what you are having and I don't want you to have it. Fleeting and occasional jealousies are normal, but resentment of other success is unhealthy. And there are some expressions of resentment people feel.
You often compare your wealth, status, and appearance to the people around. You feel envious of people who can afford nicer possessions than you can. It's difficult for you to listen to other people share their success story. You think you deserve more recognition for your accomplishments than you actually receive. You're worried that other people perceive you as a loser. It sometimes feels like no matter how hard you try, everyone else seems to be more successful. You feel disgust rather than joy toward people who are able to achieve their dreams. It's hard to be around people who make more money than you do. You feel embarrassed by your lack of success. You sometimes imply to others that you're doing better than you actually are. You secretly experience joy when a successful people encounters misfortune.
Ryan, you think why people resent other people to succeed?
I think also the feeling of resentment are similar to the anger. And when someone feels angry, they are more likely to express themselves, but resentment remain hidden. As a story, Dan always feel that it's unfair for him when his neighbor can make a lot of money and have more possessions than he could afford, and Dan blames them on making him feel poor. But not sure that if Dan live in a less affluent neighborhood, he may feel rich.
Yeah, so I can understand that the resentment of other success is also the result of deep-rooted insecurities. Is it difficult to be happy about a friend's accomplishment when you feel bad about yourself? When you are insecurity, someone else's success might lead to the magnify of your shortcomings. You might also become bitter when you wrongly assume that the good fortunes will come to the others when you are the more deserving one.
It's easy to resent what people have when you don't even know what you want yourself. When you overlook the fact that most people only reach their goal by investing time, money, and effort to get there. When you overlook the fact that most people only reach their goal by investing time, money, and effort to get there, it's more likely that you will resent their achievement. So what are the problems? You'll stop focusing on your own path to success. The more time you spend focusing on someone else's achievement, the less time you have to work on your own goals. You'll never be content with what you have. If you're always trying to keep up with other people, you'll never feel a sense of peace with what you have. You overlook your skills and talents, The more time you spend wishing you could do someone else done, the less time you focus on sharpening your own skills. You may abandon your value. Resentment can cause people to behave in a desperate manner. It's hard to stay true to your values when you feel a lot of anger toward people who have things you don't. You may damage relationships. When you resent someone, you won't be able to maintain a healthy relationship with them. You may begin to think you're all hurt. At first, you may copy someone you resent in an effort to keep up. But if that person's accomplishments seem to overshadowing yours, you may resort boasting about yourself or even outright lying about your accomplishment.
Dan had to pause to evaluate his own life before he could stop resenting other people for their achievement. Once he chose to create his own definition of success, which involved spending time with his family and raising his children according to his value, he was able to remind himself that his neighbor good fortune didn't diminish his effort to reach his own goal. First, change your circumstance. If you don't feel good about who you are, it's important to examine what the reason might be. Perhaps you aren't behaving in a way that builds healthy self-worth. If that's the case, examine what you can do differently in your life to bring your behavior in line with your values and goals. Second, change your attitude. Avoid comparing yourself to other people. Develop an awareness of your stereotype. Stop emphasizing your weakness. Quit magnifying other people's strength. Don't insult other people's accomplishment. Stop trying to determine what's fair. Third, focus on cooperation rather than competition. As long as you view the people in life as a competitor, you'll always focus on trying to win, and you can't have healthy relationship with people when you are only thinking how to beat them, rather than build them up. Fourth, create your own definition of success. You can answer some questions to create your own definition of success. What are my biggest accomplishments in life? How would I know that I had accomplished those things? What was the best ways I spent my time, money, and talents? Write out your own definition of success when you attempt to resent other individuals. Practice celebrating other people's accomplishments. If you are working towards your own definition of success and you will address your insecurities, you can celebrate other people's accomplishments without any feeling of resentment.
When you stop resenting the other people for their success, you will be free to work furthermore on your goal. You will have the desire to live according to your values, and you won't feel offended or cheated by the people living according to theirs.
Creating your own definition of success, replacing negative thoughts that breed resentment with more rational thoughts. Celebrating other people's accomplishments, focusing on your strengths. Collaborating rather than competing with everyone.
Was not helpful. Chasing after everyone else's dreams. Imagining how much better everyone else's lives are. Constantly comparing yourself to everyone around you. Diminishing other people's achievements. Treating everyone like they are your direct competition.
We have the opportunity to get to know Susan, a woman with a beautiful marriage with her husband and a gorgeous 2-year-old little girl. She has a stable job as a receptionist in a local school. She has a dream to become the teacher, and she used to go to the college. But being suffering from a miserable homesick, she felt that the classes are difficult to follow, and she got overwhelmed. She dropped out from the college after her half of the first semester. Susan thought that she was too old to get back to the college and wasn't smart enough after her first failure in the test. In Susan's life, whenever she wasn't successful in anything, she gave up. After getting encouragement and advice, she finally took some online classes, found the new sense of her hope in her future, and have the new look on failure.
There are people who take failure as motivation to do better next time, but some think they are losers and give up, then bear in their mind with negative thoughts.
You worry about being perceived as a failure by other people. You only like to participate in things when you're likely to excel. If your first attempt at something doesn't work out well, you're not likely to try again. You believe the most successful people were born with the natural talent to succeed. There are plenty of things that you don't think you can do. There are plenty of things that you don't think you could ever learn to do, no matter how hard you try.
Much of your self-worth is linked to your ability to succeed. The thought of failing feels very unsettling. You tend to make excuses for your failure. You would rather show off the skills you already have than try to learn new skills. Susan felt that if she failed once, she would fail again, so she didn't want to try more, and she assumed that she was not smart enough to continue to the college. Not only Susan, there are so many that has the same thought and feeling with her. So why is that? Fear is often at the heart of our unwillingness to try something again after we've failed at it already. But not everyone shares the same fears about failure. Rather than facing these fears, many people simply avoid risking another failure. We allow failure to define who we are. To Susan, her failure to finish college means she wasn't smart enough to get an education.
Giving up can also be a learned behavior. As a child, your mother swooped in to help you accomplish any task you weren't able to do on the first try. Always expecting someone else to come to our rescue can be a hard habit to break, even into adulthood, making it less likely that we'll be willing to try again if we fail. Finally, many people give up because they have a fixed mind set about their abilities. They don't think that they have any control over their level or talents, so they don't bother improving and trying again after failure.
Everyone needs to understand that it's difficult to succeed without failing at least once. Even myself, to step up at the MSN position, I have difficult time to perform my ability and get the work done up to the standard and the timeline. Now looking back at those periods, I do not regret anything. I respect what I have been through, and this made me the stronger character and mindset. And I'm always ready for any challenges and opportunities to come in my way at any time.
Each time you gain the idea that failure is bad, that will prevent you from trying again, and that failure will cause you stop your learning ability.
If you refuse to try again after you failed once, it's likely you have developed some inaccurate or unproductive beliefs about failure. Those beliefs influence the way you think, feel, and behave toward failure. Here's what the research says about perseverance and failure. Deliberate practice is more important than natural talent. This belief can cause you to give up before you have a chance to cultivate your skill necessary to succeed. Grit is a better predictor of success than IQ. It's defined as perseverance and patience for long-term goals, has been shown to be a much more accurate predictor of achievement than IQ. Attributing failure to a lack of ability leads to a learned helplessness. Instead of trying again after you fail, you will either give up or wait for someone else to do it for you. If you think you can improve, you likely won't try to get better.
Change the way you think about failure. If you think failure is terrible, you'll struggle to try a task over again if you already failed at it once. Here are some thoughts about failure that will likely discourage you from trying again. Failure is unacceptable. I'm either a complete success or complete failure. Failure is always all my fault. I fail because I'm bad. People won't like me if I fail. If I couldn't do something right the first time, I won't be able to do it right the second time. I'm not good enough to succeed. Failure isn't likely as bad as you make it out to be in your mind. Focus on your efforts instead of the outcome. When trying to complete a different task, focus on what you could gain from the challenge. We have self-compassion. Maybe the key to reaching your full potential. It means understanding that everyone has shortcomings, including you, and that failure doesn't decrease your worth as a person.
Avoid making your entire self-worth contingent upon high achievement, or you'll be less likely to reach doing things where you may fail. Replace the irrational thought with these realistic reminders. Failure is often part of the journey to success. I can handle failure. I can learn from my failure. Failure is a sign that I'm challenging myself and I can choose to try again. I have the power to overcome failure if I choose. Face your fear of failure. If you get used to failing, it becomes a lot less scary, especially once you learn that failure and rejection aren't the worst things that could happen to you. Move forward after failure. If your efforts aren't successful at first, spend some time evaluating what happens and how you want to proceed. If you failed at something that isn't all that important to you, you may decide it's not worth investing more time or energy into trying again. And sometimes that makes sense. If you need to overcome an obstacle in your life to help you reach your dream, it makes sense to try again. But doing the exact same thing over again won't help. Instead, create a plan that will increase your chance of success. So don't give up. Failure doesn't have to be the end. In fact, most of successful people treat the failure it's just the beginning of a long journey to success. As soon as Susan realized that because she failed once and she may fail again, then she was more open to looking at the option for an education. Once she started behaving like someone could recover from failure, she was more hopeful that she could chasing her dream to become a teacher.
Failure can build characters by challenging you in new ways. It can help you to identify the areas inside you that you need to work on and the hidden strength you never realized before. In Susan's case, after she got into college, she gained more confidence in her ability to handle the future setbacks. She did not think that failure is the last step, but instead of it is a thought to improve herself. Bouncing back after the failure, it will make you stronger. Understanding that you can be okay, even if you fail repeatedly, offer much peace and contentment in life. You will no longer worry about being the best or have the feeling to achieve the most to be appreciated. And each time when you fail, you will become the better person.
So, what's helpful? Viewing failure as a learning opportunity. Resolving to try again if your first attempt was not successful. Facing your fear of failure. Developing a new plan to increase your chance of success. Identifying and replacing irrational thoughts about failure. Focusing on improving your skills rather than showing them off. What's not helpful? Allowing failure to stop you from reaching your goals. Considering future attempts to be a lost cause if your first attempt wasn't successful. Quitting because you don't want to be tolerate discomfort. Defining a task as impossible because it didn't work at first time. Allowing yourself to think that failure is worse than it is. Refusing to participate in tasks where you are not likely to excel.
We hope that after going through 3 next chapters together with us, you guys will find yourself in each story, reflect them, and make them a method in your daily encouragement.
Thank you for going along with us through 3 valuable chapters. And remember what mentally strong people don't usually do for their success.
Speaking about being strong, remember to keep your health safe, wear face masks, wash your hands regularly, and encourage each other social distancing during this COVID-19. And now,
Thank you and goodbye.
Con bùng cháy lên